pause the video to write down these 4 examples in your 5.1b notes. Also, make sure you have a calculator out. You can use a calculator. What is different with this lesson than our previous lessons on solving one-step equations? Here we're working with decimals. Our rational numbers are going to be in decimal form. The process is all the same. We need to use inverse operations and maintain equality. Again, your job is to write the 4 examples down in your notes, solve them, then come back and check your answers with mine. Also, as another reminder, you can use a calculator to help you. For number 1, when I solve for Q, I got it to equal -6 and 35/100ths. If you didn't get that answer, pause the video and look at my work and see how my work differs from yours. We want to make sure that this is the correct value for Q, so what would we use to check? Substitution. Take -6 and 35/100ths, plug it in for Q in the equation. Do you get this as your answer? You do. We solved correctly. I want you to be using substitution to check. Ms. Kluber's not going to model that this time. Number 2, when I solve for x, I got it to equal -8/10. Something tricky with this problem was you had x minus a -4 5/10. Remember, when you're taking away a negative, that really means plus, so we need to change that to plus first. Then to get the 4 5/10 out of there, we have to subtract. If you didn't get -8/10 as your answer for x, pause the video, compare your work to mine. We want to use substitution to check to make sure that's right. So make sure you're doing that with the problems. When I solve for n in number 3, I got it to equal 4. This is a one-step multiplication equation. I need to get the coefficient -8/10 out of there. That means I need to divide both sides by -8/10. Again, using substitution to check to make sure that 4 is the right value for n. For number 4, when I solve for c, I got the value to be -45. This is a one-step division equation. I need to get the 1 2/10 out of there while maintaining equality to find the value of c. That means I need to multiply both sides by 1 2/10. When I did that, again, I got -45. If your answers don't match mine, pause the video and see how my work differs from yours. Now, on example 5, we have a real-world situation. We need to come up with an equation that represents that and a solution for it. Carmen withdrew $115.50 from her savings account, and her new balance is $280.47. What was her beginning balance? Write and solve a subtraction equation to represent this situation. Well, what are we being asked to find in this problem? What was her beginning balance? Let's answer that question. The beginning balance was blank dollars. Now, I'm using marking the text as a strategy to help me solve this problem, to help me write an equation. It's nice with marking the text because when we answer what we're being asked to find, we know that our variable is present. What are we missing? What's going to represent a number in this problem? And we don't know exactly what that number is. The beginning balance. And we know it's going to be labeled dollars. Let's let a variable represent that beginning balance. Let's pick B. Now let's go line by line and look for key operation words and phrases and the important numbers. We need to find that variable above 2, which again refers to her beginning balance. So Carmen withdrew $115.50 from her savings account. Withdrew is a subtraction word. This value right here is how much she withdrew. From her savings account, this is referring to that beginning balance. So let's let B represent that savings account. That's the beginning balance. And her new balance is, that's an equal to word because it's giving me the total that she has in there now. Now let's translate. We know we have to write a subtraction equation. So Carmen withdrew $115.50 from her savings account. Withdrew from, those are turnaround words, right? She withdrew from needs to come after our variable there. So the beginning balance of her savings account, she withdrew $115.50. And her new balance is $280.47. Our job now is to solve for the beginning balance. So let's do that. It's a one-step subtraction equation. We need to maintain equality. Our job is to get B by itself. So how do we get this minus $115.50 out of there? We add $115.50 to both sides. When we are adding, subtracting decimals, we need to line up our decimal points. And again, we can use a calculator to help us with this. So on the left side, we're left with B equals $280.47 plus $115.50. Type that in your calculator or do it longhand. What do you get? I get 395 and 97/100. So that is my solution. Put that on the line there. Our variable is referring to dollars. So down in my response here, the beginning balance was, I'm going to go ahead and write $395.97. I'm just going to scribble that out, put a period, and then put my dollar symbol in the front. There we go. We wrote the equation for the real world situation, and we solved for the unknown. Again, using the marking the text strategy is really helpful. Let's look at example 6. Paula has a board that is 14.5 feet long. She saws off a piece that is 8 3/4 feet long. Use the diagram below to find the length of the piece that is left. Write and solve an addition equation to represent this situation. So first, again, we need to write an equation and solve for the unknown. What are we being asked to find in this problem? The length of the piece that is left. So we could answer that. The remaining piece is blank, and how will that be labeled? Feet. That's what our unit is in this problem. Let's go line by line and look for key operation words and phrases. We know that our unknown is the remaining piece, right? After she cut off, what remains? That's what we're trying to figure out. Well, I will tell you this. The picture in this problem is so nice. It actually gives me my equation, right? If you look right here, it says x feet and then plus 8 3/4 feet equals the total length right here. So I can actually get my equation just from using this picture. And this picture is modeled above in the problem. So let's write this out. Let's let x represent the piece that was cut off, plus 8 3/4 feet equals the total length of the board, which is 14.5 feet. This is a one-step addition equation. We are ready to solve. Bringing down our equal sign to maintain equality. How are we going to get x by itself? Subtracting 8 3/4, which is the same as 75/100, from both sides. Remember, when we're adding and subtracting decimals, we want to line those decimal points up. Sometimes we have to annex a 0. However, you can use a calculator to help you with this. We're left with x equals 5 3/4, which I'll write as 75/100 feet. There's the answer to our problem. So the remaining piece is 5 3/4. With example 7, 7th graders, 7th graders, I'd like you to pause the video, come up with the equation, and solve for the unknown on your own. Then come back and check your answer with mine. So first of all, we were trying to figure out how many days it's going to take to use 250 gallons of milk. So I answered that and I said, it will take blank days to use 250 gallons of milk. I know that my unknown value above is going to refer to days, so I need to let a variable represent the number of days. Then I went line by line. It says every day, repeated addition. Well, I can write that as multiplication. Now days, how many days? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So I'm going to let D represent day. The school cafeteria uses about 85 and 8/10 gallons of milk. About how many days will it take for the cafeteria to use 250 gallons? I went through and I translated, and I know they use 85.8 every day. So that's multiplication. And they're trying to figure out if they have 250, how many days is that? So 85.8 days equals 250. This is a one-step multiplication equation. I need to use division. So I divided both sides by 85 and 8/10. Now, when I did that, I got an interesting answer. And if I go back to my problem, it actually does say about how many. And whenever the word about is there, it's referring to estimation. So when I did this on my calculator, here's what my calculator showed me. Get 2.9137529. And well, they're saying about how many days. So they're looking for us to round to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to underline the ones place and look next door. Is it 5 or higher? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to add one more. About how many days will it take them to use 250 gallons of milk? It will take about 3 days. So D, when I write this over here, I'm going to write it as D is about 3. It's not exactly 3, it's really close to 3. Let's sum up lesson 5.1b, which really isn't that different than 5.1a or 5.0, what we did back in 6th grade. We're solving one-step equations. This time they have decimals in them. We still need to apply inverse operations and maintain equality.